Okay, for example, recent days I have attended a couple of interviews in ETL testing. Predominantly, what they are asking, basically, they are asking this. This is the common question: how to identify the duplicate records from a table, and please write down the query for the same. Okay, this is the query which they are going to ask. For example, here. Okay, let's take the employee table. I have taken the sample data. I have taken the sample data. Here we can see employee ID, first name, last name, email ID, and phone number, hire date, job ID. For example, in employee table, how we are going to consider this as a primary key. Basically, the business going to give you the primary key. Here, the point is why employees can have duplicate. Can two employees can have same ID? No, it's not going to happen. If you think logically, it is not going to happen. And in any company, they are not going to provide such a way. Okay. Now let's go ahead and do the how we are going to identify the duplicate records. To consider two duplicate records, we are going to consider primary key as a source, primary key as a key. Based on primary key only, we are going to identify the duplicate records. For example, here employee ID. Okay, suppose if you wanted to identify the duplicate records based on primary key, we are going to identify the duplicate records. For example, how we can write the SQL query for the same. Okay, for example, employee table. Select, then we'll go with the employee ID because we are going to identify the based on employee ID only we are going to identify the records whether we have a duplicate records. Count is an aggregate function where we are going ahead and using that, and which table you are going ahead and checking employees table, and then you are going to do the group by. Group by is nothing but you are grouping the employee IDs, you are grouping the employee IDs, and you are getting the count. Okay, first let's execute this. Then we'll understand, okay, how the data will look like. Can we see here everything is coming as one? Everything is coming as one. Okay, let's go ahead and filter it out. Okay, filter it out, and we are going, if whenever you are doing the group by, okay, you are going to use the, if you wanted to filter it, you are going to use the having clause. Okay, on top of grouping data, you are going to use the having clause as a to on top of grouping data. You are going to, if you wanted to filter some records, you are going to use the having clause. Can we do that same thing here? Let's write it up. Having count star greater than 1. Okay, if we see duplicate records, automatically we'll identify the duplicate records. If it is not there, automatically it will yield the 0 records. Okay, as per expectation, it should not yield any records because employee ID is a unique record. Each employee ID is a unique. Can we see here 0 records? This is the way you need to write down the duplicate query. Okay, to identify the duplicate records, you are going to write it up. Okay, for example, here employee ID. For example, let's take example, we'll take the sales table. Okay, let's take sales table. How you are going to, whether it is going to be unique or not. Okay, in sales table, for example, consider it's a sales table. Okay, what is the column which we can take it as a unique record? Primary key. We'll consider unique key is nothing but a transaction ID. Whether the duplicate transactions happened or not. Then that case, transaction ID where we have to keep in the group by, we have to keep. Okay, more than one transaction ID with the same number. Can we see in real world? No, we are not going to see. That is the reason we are going to write it up like this. Okay, each use case you need to identify the column name as a primary key column, and you are going to use the table name, and then you are going to group by that particular key column, and you are going to filter it down. Okay, this is the way you need to identify the duplicate records. That's it, guys, for the day.